Welcome to Make Things Happen with Diana Pagano. I came from struggle, living life on survival mode, and later found myself living in that same vicious cycle. Life is meant to be so much more than settling. My life changed when I learned the power of your mindset and how it applies to every part of your life. I'm a business leader, speaker, and author. I have made it my life's mission to share all the tools and techniques that changed my life because I know they will for you too. All your hopes and dreams really lie in the how. How are you making things happen? Are you ready to stop dreaming for what could be and turn those dreams into reality? I thought so. Well, get ready to live life on your terms. Welcome to Make Things Happen with Diana Pagano. I am so honored today. This is the moment that I have been waiting for, this important day in 2025. January 29th, actually, is extra special as it marks the Lunar New Year. And not only that, but I have a very special guest today that I know you're going to find just as amazing as well, Marie Diamond. Marie's inspired me so much in 2008 when I was a single mom once upon a time, and I was figuring out life and I was going through my self-discovery of transformation as a single mother, going crazy as an entrepreneur, really. And I discovered her work, and man, was that so aligned with the stars because it was exactly what I needed. I had read so many amazing books and I've seen a lot of great inspirational people about the brain, but my gosh, when I saw her work, I was obsessed, and I'm so honored to have her here today, Marie, and all the transformation work that you're doing. I'm so grateful for all of that.
So thank you so much, Diana, for having me here on your show. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So for those of you, I'm sure you know who Marie Diamond is. And if you don't, well, then you probably live under a rock. Let's face it. You are missing out in life. You gotta know who she is. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you, Marie Diamond is a world-renowned Feng Shui master and teacher of law of attraction. And she starred in the phenomenal The Secret. If you haven't seen it, definitely you want to see the documentary. And The Secret, which has impacted over 500 million people plus in the world. After a near-death experience as a teenager, Marie has made her mission to enlighten millions worldwide. A seer in the modern context, she merges her profound initiative knowledge with her extensive studies of Feng Shui and transformation. So, Marie, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us, what is the big thing today? First of all, January 29th, true story, when I sent my team some dates, I chose January 29th. I had no idea that I was choosing a date that was really the most special day of this year. Not only is it a lunar new year, but I'm obviously a snake as well, as I told you. I had no idea. So I do feel like the stars were aligned.
Okay. Yeah, we have today the start of the lunar new year, the wooden snake. So you're in your own element, your own zodiac sign this year. And so it's a very lucky year to start, with a Feng Shui master in your show. So yeah, what is up for me? Well, it's the Chinese New Year, so that's always a big time for us as Feng Shui masters to work with our clients, to work with our programs. But also, the last 2 years, I really focused on bringing Feng Shui mainstream. That has been something that was a big goal for me when I turned 60.
Okay.
And so now I have a TV show on Tubi on the platform Feng Shui Your Life. We did last year more than 20 million organic views on Instagram.
Wow.
Teaching people about Feng Shui. A lot of doors open. Of course, I have just my new book that came out, Your Home is a Vision Board, with Hay House, my second book with them. And so that is going very well. We're still in full sharing with the world on that.
Of course.
So it's like it's already a bestseller. So it's like bringing people to know this information as much as I can, because it can really shift people's life in so many ways. So yeah, super excited for the coming year.
So, interesting enough, I have been a big fan of vision boards. And yes, it's a different vision board than what you talk about in your book, which is amazing because that just enlightened me so much. So every year I would do a vision board and I would put believe it or not, I remember being a single mom and I knew one day I'm going to get remarried. One day I'm going to have 2 additional kids one day. And I remember putting my like wedding dress on this vision board. I put like what my favorite car was, what my vacation house was going to look like. And then the next day I would like stumble at work, or, failure or something negative would happen. And I'm like, oh, what's this thing on my board? Like, what's happening there, right? You brought this whole other thing about vision boards, not just what you put on your vision board. So in January, what I've done even with my team at our office is get everybody together to align ourselves and say, what are we looking to attract? Let's be intentional on what we're doing with our lives. And you talk a lot about the misconception. I want to ask you here today, what is that misconception when people believe that vision boards is just cutting out magazine clips and putting it on a board? Talk to me about that, because that is so fascinating, and you brought it to a whole another level.
Yeah, well, most people, they, from The Secret, it became like very well known. One of the best tools that The Secret shared was how to create a vision board. So what a vision board is literally is like the imaginations that we have, the dreams that we have, by putting them on paper, putting them in a visual, it makes it more real. It's like almost like a first step we can do. And we don't always know how this thing's going to manifest, but at least we create a visual. So we create a visual reality. But then, a lot of people create these vision boards and it's total chaos on it, right? It's just like all pictures all over. They just find something. They don't even have an intention, like what are really the goals that they want? Yeah. They just go through magazines like, oh, this is nice. Yeah, perhaps this car, but is that the car you want? Is that the holiday you want? Is that the relationship you want? So you need to really set down your goals. And so based on that, then you can look for the images. And I always share with people, you need both. You need to have the images and the words, because we have two brain waves, right? Two brain halves. So one is creative and that needs the images, but the other is analytic. So it needs to read something. Yeah.
Right.
To be clear about that. And then, a lot of people, they put all these things on a vision board and always say, you're the universe. And you look at that vision board, you don't even know if it's your vision board or one of your husband. You have no idea. So
right.
You have to put a picture of yourself in the center of your vision board, like really claiming this is everything around here is my vision for myself for this year, for long term, whatever you wanted. And then, of course, another part is what I teach is that you can actually base it on your birthday. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
based on your birthday, you can really add some different colors, some different places where to put it on your vision board, but also where do you hang your vision board, right? I have seen so many places where people put vision boards, like from their bathrooms to their fridge, and I'm thinking, are you honoring your vision if you hang it in your bathroom, right? You're not spending time there. So I always say hang it somewhere where you spend 3 to 5 hours a day. So there's like a subconscious connection.
Yes.
And I always connect with the vision board at least once a week. I will read it. I will look at it. So don't just hang something and just never be in contact with it.
Right. Don't put it in a closet and never look at it.
And some people say, I don't want to really hang it out, but take a picture, put it on your phone, put it on your screensaver. I mean, print it out, look at it whenever you want. I understand it's not for everybody to hang it out, right? But just do the process. And then the next step that I always say to people is like, okay, you have that now on your paper, but does the rest of your home looks like the same goals? Is there an alignment between your goals that you have and that whatever is around you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I call your home is a vision board.
As a vision board. Interesting.
Yeah, because all the images around you are an extension of what you put on you. So if you want romance and you put this beautiful image up from couples on your vision board, but everything around you in your bedroom are images of single women, now I'm telling you who will win. It's your bedroom will win and not your vision board.
Not your vision board. And that's so funny that you mentioned some people don't want to hang it up. So that was me. I was guilty in 2008. I had a vision board in my home office and I had a sliding closet. It was actually a bedroom, but I made it into my office. So I had a sliding door closet, and I had my vision board on the wall. It was like an empty closet. And when I had people over, I would close the closet door because I'm like, they're gonna see this and think I'm crazy. It's funny that people often get a little self-conscious, like, or even in my office, I'll have to show you my vision board before you leave today of what I have. But yeah, so that's amazing. So you talked about your subconscious mind, right? And what happens, and have you ever had someone, what would you say to this? You do a vision board and you do the thing, but then where is that misalignment with your subconscious mind is receiving this? Is there a level of belief and faith that, hey, I'm going to do this thing because Marie Diamond said I should do this thing. Diana shared that it manifested the things in her life. What's that connector? Because you could be intentional and say, okay, I'm going to, really align myself to what I want to see and make sure it's somewhere where I'm going to have traffic. Is there sometimes a conflict where there isn't an alignment yet with your inner self, or with subconsciously or unconsciously? Has that ever been a thing, and what would you say to that?
It is. And so when I go and bring people to the process in my yearly vision board program, is that I always make sure that they are aligning with the highest energy of themselves, what some people would call soul or spirit, or the reflection of God within themselves. Because a lot of people create vision boards really based on their ego. Like, what are they, needing, what are the neighbor has, what their friends have, right?
Right.
So that's the ego-driven vision board. So it's really something to connect with your heart and your soul to create that. Because once you do that, you're not creating a vision board out of need anymore, but out of an abundance experience. And so when you do that, there's already a shift that is happening in your goals and the images you choose. But of course, we all have something that we call it like inner blockages that we have, right? So one of the things, sometimes people, even when they write their goals, you already see they are writing it from a blockage perspective. Like, instead of going from the perspective of there is enough for everybody, there is an abundance level for me also. So that's why we, for example, always write the words I am as the start of a goal. So to just claim it, like, I am that
Name
already.
it.
Right?
I
I
love that.
claim it, right? And to, instead of say, well, I need to make $5,000 or I go bankrupt. It's like that's a whole lot,
Right. I
right?
love that.
So say something positive, like, I am abundant. I am having always enough for paying all the expenses and more. And I always, especially with money, I always would add the words and more, because sometimes you're thinking, oh, if I have $10,000 a month, that would be great, right? If I go from 2 to 10, right? But why do you not say and more? Because perhaps there's more for you available, and you have been limiting yourself already in writing it. Yeah. So always open up, right? So, or say, I am open, like, I am ready. So say these words, like, open the frequency, open the vibration.
I love
And
that.
so a lot of people are writing the goals out of their blockages. So I always bring them first in meditation out of their blockages. And it's possible you look at your vision board and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I can make that happen. You go like a little bit of a fear or a procrastination, and just bless your vision board. Say, I'm so blessed to have these goals. Like, you look at it, smile, be grateful, because grateful is, I call it, the juice of the universe. If you don't add attitude to it, it will not happen. If you add fear to it, then it's like an algorithm on Instagram or on social media.
That
right?
is so true.
You have to open the algorithm with positive energy, right? By being engaged. Like, an algorithm doesn't open up if you don't engage. Like, people say, I want 10,000 followers, but they never engage. Like, they never answer. They never connect. They never look at their Instagram. It won't open up, right? It's the same with the vision board.
Yeah.
The same with quantum field. You have to engage, look at your vision board, read the goals, and smile and think, oh,
Smile and be in it.
Yeah. And enjoy it.
Enjoy it. That's interesting. So I have this nightstand journal, and I always write, on the left side what I'm grateful for. And then on the right side, I do those I am statements. Thank you, Marie Diamond, because I got that from you. And you said to do those I am statements. And I say, I am a phenomenal mother. I am a great leader. I am an inspirational speaker impacting millions. And I love that you said and more. Or, that's another tidbit I'm taking. I'm taking notes. And because, I've seen this firsthand, how powerful it is. And when I learned about everything that I learned about how our brain works and all that you talk about, it changed everything. It changed my paradigm, And even if we have a bad day or people tell you no sometimes because you're going after something or there's rejection, there's all this stuff on the external, but you can't control how you choose to react to that thing, right? Where I see something that doesn't happen my way and the way that I wanted it to happen, it's like, okay, you're talking to me. What does this really mean? Challenges speak to us if we listen. And there's times that I'm like, nope, I'm taking the wheel. I'm doing it different. No, let go and just listen to those. What's it telling you? And what vibrational energy, you do talk about energy as well. Are you giving and feeding that? Right. And so what would you say to someone, especially an entrepreneur that I have been most of my adult life, that does go through struggles? How do you not allow that to cripple you?
Well, I've gone through struggles myself too. My first company went bankrupt, so
Okay.
easy to say that now, right? And it was very struggling, and I was really like at a certain moment, I had no home, I had no money, and so that was before I really got more deeper into Feng Shui. But it was really interesting because I always know that first of all, I have a huge faith in myself, I have huge confidence in myself, and I thought like, well, this is probably the biggest lesson I can learn. There's something in that lesson. And what it was for me was like, okay, I don't need to stay in my country. I can go anywhere in the world, right? And so because of that experience, I actually moved to the United States. I immigrated, right? Like so many immigrants, in for hundreds of years that they, it didn't work in one country, sometimes because things are not going well in that country, they immigrate. Yeah. So they look for a better place. I did that and I moved to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole point is everything that goes into you and you go through, see it as part of the journey. Don't see it as like it's the end of a journey. Right. And I learned so much from it. Yeah. I would not be as successful. And you see many wealthy and successful people, if you ask them, did you have any bankruptcies? If you any company that went down, they all had one or two or three sometimes, right? And it's like, yes, we all had this experience, but the difference between people that are successful and are not, the ones that are successful, they didn't give up. Yeah, they moved forward. Right. They learned what they had to learn from it. Didn't blame themselves. I mean, I could have blamed myself. I could have blamed my accountant. I could have blamed the government. I mean, I can blame many things, right? But I just said, look, I'm not going to go into blame, but I'm going to learn from what it is, and then move forward from there. And so the moment you do that and you switch that off and I always say you let go and you forgive yourself. That's another part. I really am big in the process of forgiving. Is like I let go and I forgive myself for the mistakes I made, for the lessons I did not learn, for whatever I was failing on. I forgive myself and I'm going to use that and move forward again. Yeah. And that is really crucial, not just in life in itself, but in business for sure.
In business for sure. Right? Yeah. And you talk about that in your book, actually, about forgiveness and why it's so important. Now you talk about, which is interesting, about forgiving ourselves. I feel that needs to happen first, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's forgiving yourself for holding on to the pain that you have given to yourself or pain that was caused by others. Why would you hold on to that? It's part of clearing your vibration, right? So how can you move forward and expand if you're still holding on to all the pain from the past? Not all pain can be resolved overnight. I mean, I totally agree with that. But I always say be willing, be open to say, I'm ready to start forgiving, right?
I love that.
Things in my life, it took me 10 years, 20 years to like, okay, I'll get over it now, right? But just be open to it, yeah? And so while you're doing that, the moment you open your energy, new vibrations, new opportunities, new people, new solutions can come in. If you keep yourself closed off because you're angry and because you're in pain, then nothing new can come. Yeah. So just open up the field.
So that's a great point what you mentioned. It blocks you. And I know sometimes I'm like, gosh, I've forgiven that person, even if they don't apologize. But I'll never forget, I used to say, right? And I'm like, well, if you don't forget, are you really forgiving? And I had to really had a hard look in the mirror. I'm like, am I really forgiving if I'm not forgetting? And then you talk the importance of it, of course. Is there some sort of technique you recommend? I've heard, sometimes just writing it down, you forgive, and some people have like burnt it in the ash, in the fireplace or what have you. Is there an
Yeah.
act or is it just within? What would you say to
Yeah. Well, in the book, we talk about the forgiveness letter. That has been a tool that was very helpful for me, is to write down, all the things I wanted to share with myself or with that person, right? Because most of the time when we are upset with that person, we don't really tell that person why we and how, and sometimes we can't even anymore. They're not there anymore. So by writing it down, and I always say you don't write it to their ego, you write it to their soul. Yeah. So
Okay.
you write to that God presence in them. And then, give yourself permission to start forgiving, right? And then I always say, burn that letter, So, and as you're doing that, send it off to their soul. Don't send it off to their ego, but send it off to their soul,
Wow.
wherever they might be, you don't know. They can be alive, they can be somewhere else in the world, you have no contact with them anymore. But just by doing that, the main thing is you do something for yourself. It's
Mhm.
not so important what you do for them, but what's important is what you do for you.
What you do
Yeah.
for you. I love that because it is for you. It's not for them. And I love what you said. And it's a great perspective, Marie. You mentioned you're not doing it for their ego. It's for their soul. It's
Yeah.
very similar to like the subconscious, the conscious. Like the
Correct.
conscious that knows what's hot, what's cold, or the unconscious. It reminds
Yeah.
me so much of that in a way.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. And I've seen many amazing things happen from people. Like there was this one woman after hearing me speak in Jordan, actually, talking about forgiveness. She wrote that letter. We did that with like 500 people. We burned it all up. And then like she hadn't heard from her father, and the letter was towards her father. And like literally an hour later, he called her out of the blue and said, I don't know, but I really feel we would like to reconnect. We haven't talked for 10 years, but I really want to ask you if it's okay to ask you to be in contact with me, and I would love to ask your forgiveness. I mean,
Oh,
she just has sent that off to his soul, right? If it was to
wow.
his ego, he would never have responded, right? But it was to his soul, and somehow he was in the United States, but it's in the quantum physics field, there's no time. And
There's
so she sent it off to his soul, and she responded. Apparently she gave him money, like $10,000 so many years ago, and he never repaid her, but he tried to contact her. So what he did, he had that money that he wanted to give her, he put it in investment. And so he said, like, I'm ready to give you the money, but I'm telling you, I invested the money because she never responded for 10 years.
Oh,
And now
wow.
it's $150,000.
That's amazing.
And she was looking for buying a house and put a deposit down. She was like telling me, I don't even have the money. And I said, start with forgiving, right? And so the energy opened up. The money was already provided, but because of holding on to her anger, the money couldn't even come in.
Don't even
That
come in. You're people, right? I love that. The people block. You're blocking. And I know I've done it before, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to take the trash out and open the window and let it out and leave room for what's possible. And this is one thing I'm so obsessed with and I talk about. It's not just okay, put the vision on the board as I did too. It's about what you feel inside because
Yeah.
we're all vibrational energy, right, Maria? I mean, we're all vibrational energy and we live in a quantum field and it's going to like mimic that. And so you can't have any goodness come to you when you're sitting there in a cloud and you're holding on to whatever it is that you're feeling or you're having these thoughts that make you feel not good. So I actually have a workshop I do, change the channel so that you can make things happen. And it's all about changing. It's really what it is. Because I always say to people, imagine watching a show that's not serving you and that makes you feel nervous or scared or frustrated, or maybe you just feel stuck. What if all you had to do is grab the remote and change that channel,
Totally, yeah.
right?
And people do it like in real life already, yeah. but you have to understand, you are the director of your own life. So just create a new movie, create a new script. Yeah.
Right.
Change the channel, right? Make sure that everything around you, the people, the environment is helping you to change that easily, right?
Right.
And so somebody would tell me like, "Oh, Marie, I'm really struggling and I'm in my office." And I'm like, "Okay, let's look around in your office." "Oh, well, you're self-employed." "Okay, let me look at your office." I was doing that last week with somebody like, "Oh, I have this company and nothing's happening, no clients." And there were boxes everywhere. And I said, you have to understand one thing. When you work in a company, there's a headquarters. Yeah. When you work in your office is the headquarters of your company. Yeah.
True.
But I'm telling you, are in your old office, right? In the old headquarters, were there boxes at the headquarters everywhere? And you're like, no way. Like, I said, you have to open up the space even around you, right? So you want to change the channel in your mind, but sometimes you cannot because there's too much clutter.
Too much clutter.
On unorganized things around you. Yeah. And so you have to organize it, and you need to let go even from physical things that are just not making sense for your business. Yeah. So I remember this major wholesale company in Italy, and they were like specialized, or the number one brand in swimwear. Right. So they're like, our newest swimwear collection is not doing so well. And so I went to their company, and I was like, everywhere I see, like I opened the drawers, there were swimwear from the last 20 years, old collections, old materials. And I said, why don't you give that away to a charity? Right. So they did that. And anyhow, what happened is suddenly the collection started getting so much. Influencers were showing it, like, and without knowing, things started happening because they had to let go of what they were holding on to.
That's very deep, because it's part of a toolkit. Like you said, you can learn about the brain, you can change the channel, and yes, it changes how you feel, but then you get home or whatever, right? Maybe you are home already, and then you wake up to the clutter, you wake up to the boxes, you wake up to everything being the opposite of what you really want to manifest.
Yeah.
So it's part of that. One thing you mentioned that I thought you were speaking to me on one of your reels and on Instagram, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I ran to the living room. You mentioned how people have pictures in their living room of their kids. Is it when they were 5? And that's exactly what my living room looks like right now. It's my 9 and 10-year-old now, when they were like 5 and 4 or something, 5 and 6, I don't even know. And I'm like, I've been wanting to change that for so long. And especially now, I'm making that happen because of what you said. So tell me about that. What happens when you have old pictures like that? To us, it's like, oh, it's our family. It's just, memories.
Yeah. Everything needs to stay in a current flow, right? So it's like if you have images, or even in your office, you have old files, right? Or you have old pictures. You don't live you're telling yourself, I'm living in the past. That was my best time. But your best time is never in the past. Your best time is always now, right? So if you're open to it. So if you have all these old images of your family, could be of products that you are having out in a company. I'm like, is that the newest product? Oh no, it's not. Like, where is it? Why don't I have pictures of that around, right? Why don't I see it? And show always the newest energy, right? Because you're showing to the universe, I'm in a flow, and I'm in a positive flow. So it doesn't mean you cannot have this one small picture that you really adore somewhere. Which
of course.
There are certain areas I would definitely focus on, like your entrance. If you have a picture of your entrance, or your family at your entrance, or even if you have, I come into companies and they're like having a logo out. I'm like, oh, but I saw on your website you have another logo. That old logo is still there from 10 years ago, but you have rebranded yourself, right? Or the colors that are in your company are connected with your old brand. Why don't you change a few things and add not just your brand on your paperwork, on your digital performances, but everywhere there needs to be a rebranding happening, right? And so if, for example, we hang the image of the CEO out, Okay, great, but this guy is like 20 years older now. Why don't you update
Like our
that?
LinkedIn pictures, Marie. You don't look like this to some people.
But the same with people sometimes in their bio or in
Yeah.
in their books, on the end of their books they have pictures. I remember once there's a woman and she comes to me like, "Oh, I want to meet you." So I have a picture of her on the back of the book, and I don't find her, and I'm calling her like, "Where are you?" And like I was sitting next to her. I can't recognize her. I mean, always like even in all my social media and everything I do on the website, every year I take new pictures to always tell people this is me now. Like I don't have to hide who I am,
Right.
right? I am who I am. I'm a beautiful woman of 61. So why don't I have to show my 40-year-old self? That
Right.
at 40, my God, did not know anything compared with what I know now. So
Right.
show also your intelligence and your knowledge and your wisdom. Don't hide that.
I love that. I told my kids I can't wait to be in my 60s. I believe it or not, I've been saying this when I'm a keynote speaker. So when I'm on stage, even I share this so many times. I constantly repeat myself, and I'm like, I'm going to be that 90-year-old woman attending a conference, learning something new about the brain because I'm so obsessed with how we work as humans and how we're so wired to think a certain way. To how do we enhance this? One of my questions, where do you see this in the next decade with transform just all the energy work that we're doing, all that's coming our way in the next decade? Like, do you see a change?
Yeah, and what we see is that based on feng shui, we have cycles of energy, right? So we have a cycle of energy that ended in February 4th, 2024, and that was the last 20 years, and that was the cycle of eight, the number eight, and that stands for wisdom and knowledge and learning, right? So if you look at in 2005, we had Facebook, we had Google started. So that was the last 20 years. Like people are searching for answers. They want wisdom. They
Right.
want to know the information, right? And then once they know, they were teaching, right? We have the whole social media. People are like sharing their knowledge, the latest tips, the latest things that they're doing. So that is the eight. Now, since February 4th, 2024, we have for the next 20 years the number nine. And the number nine stands really for fire. Yeah. And it's really interesting, right? What we just have experienced. So there's a fire of the physical world, but it's also the fire of the spirit. And the fire of the spirit is passion and purpose. Yeah. So I do believe that more and more people, and especially after COVID, a lot of people start thinking at the end of, 2022, 2023, and that's definitely in 2024, do I still do a job? Do I still bring something to the world what I'm passionate about? That is my purpose to work with. Yeah. And so I do believe that the next 10 years and definitely 20 years, more and more people ask themselves the questions. And definitely the younger generation, I just had this conversation with my two children who are, under 30. Mom, if that's not my purpose, I'm not doing it. Yeah. If that's not my passion, I don't do it. Now, I always lived like this. I always lived for my passion and purpose, but a lot of people
Most
don't.
people don't.
Right? And that's the big shift that is happening. They have to find their inner fire.
Absolutely. You mentioned your kids. So my son, now he's 10, and they're big hockey players. Very competitive. My 10-year-old versus my 9-year-old. I have four kids, actually, two in their 20s. I started as a young mom, I told you earlier. But my two little ones now. And so my son asked me at 8 years old, he says, how do you know what you want to do in life? He heard the word purpose and all this stuff. And he asked me, how do you find your purpose? And I need feedback, Marie, but my answer was, you go through life and you experience things. Today you might like hockey, tomorrow you might like soccer. You find your purpose as you go through life. And I feel that when you start seeing what lights your heart on fire, what do you love? When you love what you do, it doesn't seem like it's work. And he sees what I do, and he loves make things happen. And they're my biggest cheerleaders. I took them to London once a year ago to watch me speak on stage, and it was so amazing. And so I love that you're obviously taught your kids well. And to hear that your son is, no, I don't want, I don't want that. It's purpose driven. And I'm
Yeah.
curious whether you're a 10-year-old or an entrepreneur figuring out your life and saying, how do I find a purpose-driven life? What would you say to that?
Well, I would tell them, pay attention to what your life brings you, right? The purpose is not always in the wow moments. Sometimes the purpose is in the moments that life is not so easy, right? I remember my youngest son, since he was 5, he was listening to music, he was drawing himself as a hip hop artist, and he's now a hip hop producer and artist. But he would not have gone to that point till if he didn't go through really intense bullying at school and going through it and then going on the other side of it and then really telling me at a certain moment, like, Mom, I want to make a difference. I don't want anyone in the world to be alone and to go through this experience. And then he found that through music he could express that message. Now his expressing of his message is not through like what I do in speaking, but through music and through the lyrics that he brings through hip hop. He already had like a field of like at 5, like drawing himself as a hip hop artist, like his soul was already probably giving him that information. But it's only the real purpose, why he did that doesn't always come at the moments of victory, but sometimes come at the moments that you feel defeated.
That you feel defeated. Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell you, man, I could write a book on all my defeats and what happened. It's like, and it's not about the thing that happens to you. It's more about how you respond to it, would you say? And how I would just get back up. Okay, got it. I got knocked down, but I'm going to get, what matters is that you get back up, right? And you mentioned earlier about not holding on to things and being open. And I feel that, your purpose is sometimes just being open and not being so caught up with comparing yourself to social media. You mentioned it earlier, feeding the ego, where I'm not yet in my life. I haven't achieved all these things, and you're so busy focusing your attention, your energy on what you haven't done, that you're blocking yourself from discovering what can come next for you. Be open to receive. And I really truly believe in asking the universe, your God. For me, it's both. Asking, because when you ask, you shall receive answers more than you believe. Would you say?
Yeah, and I do believe that, but I also sometimes say to people, ask for clarity. Yeah. So, there are moments in my life I have no idea what to do, even if I'm so well observed in the law of attraction manifestation, sometimes like, okay, like give me some clarity. Like, hey, right? I need some answers. Like, give me some answers. Like, but I would then say I am open to have clear answers. Yeah. And then, when you do that and you have that clarity, and if people have a lack and they feel like it's hard to get clarity, there's a color for clarity. So the color for clarity is aqua blue. And when you want some more, that's more teal.
Aqua green. I had to check.
It's lighter blue. So putting something in blue, light blue, aqua blue, in the north section of your office or of your bedroom. Yeah, just it could be, I wouldn't go for an image of water, but like just something. It could be a aqua blue candle, literally,
Okay,
right?
like an object. Okay.
Something small, you can place that there. It will start creating a flow of clarity. Also, people that have a hard time with clarity, I would say to them, will start wearing something in aqua blue. It could be a shawl, it could be, I don't know, earrings or whatever it is, or paint your nails. Like my daughter was like, a few weeks ago, I was like, Mom, I'm lacking clarity. And I said, well, aqua blue nails. So she changed her nails and it's like, oh Mom, I really start seeing like more what I need to do. And because a color has a vibration. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, or put something aqua blue on your desk, just this little
clarity.
tools, can actually help you with that. Yeah.
I like that a lot. How colors really signify so much. I've even prayed for clarity. And when you add prayer and you add color, like you mentioned with prayer, I feel like these are all amazing tools in your toolkit. And what you talk about isn't always in the forefront. There's so many people, including myself, we talk about mindset and creating that shift and changing how you feel, because when you change how you feel, you're going to take the action you need. But my God, you add this to it, the colors, the Feng Shui, all the stuff that you're talking about in your online course, which we're going to get into in a minute, is going to just be like that topping that's so necessary to keep the momentum and keep the wheels turning. I think that's what it really kind of boils down to, is that you do all this work, you went to that class and you transformed your life, great, but then what? Then tomorrow happens and next Wednesday happens and you have clutter, or you're using the wrong colors when you actually want the opposite to happen. So this is beautiful,
Yeah,
amazing.
it's beautiful what you shared, because I've seen this, and that's one of the things that, of course, I was already teaching seminars at 31 about manifestation and meditation and really changing people's mindset. And so it was like I saw these people coming to a course, going to a seminar, a retreat. They would go home all changed, and they would go back into their home, and literally they would be reprogrammed by the home they were living in. Yeah. So the old program is always expressed into your space around you. Like if you're lonely, you put some things around you. If it didn't feel good, you chose some colors, and then you change that. But then you go back into that old program, because the home is still expressing that old program, and you feel like you're slowly go back into the old program. That aha moment evades and it evaporates literally. And so I always say, if you can understand that, if you can then align your environment with the new program that you have, the new ideas, the new goals, and like whatever vision you have for yourself, you express that in your environment. And Feng Shui is literally an energy system that helps you to do that. And it's thousands of years old. And I always say something that's so old, trust it, because it exists for a long time. There's some truth to it, right? And it's not a religion, right? It's a practical energy system that is literally, you can compare it with like acupuncture. Like if you have a blockage and they do acupressure, or they put a little needle in it, your energy start flowing. So, but it could be that it's blocked by, doing the wrong movement all the time, right? So what if you have placed the wrong images or items around you, and it has been blocking the acupuncture field of a bigger body called your home? Right. Then if you change these little things, suddenly the energy starts flowing. If you have put on your body, for example, all clutter, you won't be able to move. Now, your home won't be able to move. The energy won't be able to move when you have all this clutter. So we work with certain symbols and certain energy to change the vibration. And because it's a subconscious field, your subconscious will start adapting to that program that you have put out, and now it comes back, and there's a reflection of it in your subconscious mind, and therefore it becomes easier, effortless, faster to manifest your goals, because everything is aligned.
That is all on this episode with Marie Diamond. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. And it really is all about alignment, isn't it, guys? How we are aligning ourselves with the vibrational energy that our goals and our future really needs us to. It's not just about writing a vision, writing down our goals. Very important. I did an episode on that. It's also about how are you exuding the vibrational energy required to achieve the goals that you want. When you walk into the bedroom, when you walk into your office, what's around you? What clutter? What colors? Make sure that you subscribe, because you're going to get notification when part 2 comes out, and you won't want to miss it. We get into some juicy things and we talk about the bedroom.